Hi, this is Wayne Zell, and welcome back to Blueprint for Wealth. It's a half-hour, fast-paced podcast that's designed to help you realize your personal dreams of wealth and freedom. And who better to talk to than an author of science fiction and other nonfiction books who's basically lived out his dream of being a journalist, and that is Aaron Ryan. Welcome to our show today, Aaron. Thanks for being a special guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think it's pretty cool that you are able to make a living and do what you do as an author. How did you become an author? How did you become a published author?
Well, so a minute ago you hinted at the fact that you could get paid as an author. I don't, did I miss something? I don't, no money's come my way yet. Yeah, well, I mean, it was fostered in me early on. I've been very, parents that really instilled creativity in me.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually like a second grade assignment. So everyone did it back in 1981, just tells you how old I am. And it was construction paper. It was crude college, lined three-hole punch paper, stick figure drawings and everything. I called it the Electric Boy. And what's so funny is that I've really discovered lately as an epiphany, I've come full circle with my latest book, Forecast, which is a weatherman around September of 2001. He gets struck by lightning and he's imbued with powers. That's kind of exactly what the Electric Boy was about. I literally sat back and went, whoa, I'm literally writing the Electric Boy all over again.
Who's it for? Who's the audience?
Definitely a thriller. It's a man who is able to eventually prevent 9/11. He sees everything as we've seen it for the past 24 years in terms of footage, but he's able to prevent it. It is a sci-fi thriller. And yeah,
Tell us a little bit about Dissonance. Dissonance is first of all, Aaron's won a bunch of awards. It's a best-selling saga. It's not just one book, it's a series of books. And I was fascinated. I started reading it earlier, and it's a great story. Tell us a little bit about the Dissonance saga.
yeah. Well, I'm so pleased with how it turned out. I mean, you always want something to just turn out well, and it was like well to the power of well plus well cubed. I'm seriously grateful. So I intended to write a single book, but much like an alien queen, the rest of it just burst out of me. I had so much more to tell, and it turned into a trilogy, and then it demanded two prequels and a sequel.
Oh
So
my,
it is now, yeah, it's now actually referred to as a hexalogy of six books.
6 books.
It's grown and grown. It's now volume one, which is the very first one I wrote, but chronologically is the third in the sequence.
Kind of like
Uh,
Star Wars, right? And so it's
yeah, yeah. What is it? Star Wars is episode four. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
even think George Lucas knew that when he started. I mean, let's be honest. It's been adapted for the screen. It's being pitched to streaming networks, so I'm pretty
Oh
excited
my
about that.
God. Tell us a little bit about this story. This is fascinating.
Well, so Dissonance, volume one. I'm holding this up here. I'm kind of blurred, probably. So there we go. For anybody who's joining us via audio, if they can't see it, this is volume one, and this is the creature on the front. 2026, we're going about our lives just like any other day. All of a sudden, all over the planet, by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, these things drift down silently out of the sky. We don't know what they are, but we find out they're not crafts or drones or ships or probes. They're beings, and they hang there for 90 days above the ground, about 50 feet all over the planet. We think maybe they're angelic messengers because they're not attacking, and all will be revealed in due time.
Hmm.
Well, 90 days goes by. They all wake up at exactly the same time all over the planet. If that sounds coordinated, it is. They look down at us and they hiss, and it just kind of all goes south from there. They're apex predators, and we eventually call them gorgons because, like Medusa the Gorgon, you cannot, under any circumstances, look them in the eye. Well, it's all over. They have a telepathic paralytic, and so they're going to immobilize you with your mind. You're going to stiffen, and you can't move, and they're going to immobilize you, eat you at their leisure while you feel every agonizing bite. It's awful.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
they actually end up killing off 85% of all mankind, by the way. The rest of us are living in these underground bunkers. The trilogy was set in 2042, 16 years after the invasion.
Okay.
Then I went back and wrote prequels that allow you to be there when they descend through the sky. It's from his dad's perspective.
Okay.
When they attack, it's the most terrifying thing I've ever written. I had to take a sabbatical afterwards and just suck my thumb. It was terrifying. What happens when they wake up finally is absolutely terrifying, and it was like it's not for the weak.
Is it told from the perspective of a few characters?
Really interesting question. I really prefer first person narration that way and storyline. So all
Mhm.
of them are first person. However, the second prequel is actually told from four first person perspectives,
Okay.
uh, alternating because they're in four different places and they show the evolution of the uprising of the resistance. So that was hard to kind of go through, and even harder in the audiobooks because I've got to do all these different accents.
You're a voiceover guy. You should be able to do that.
I can do the accents. It's just that you have to maintain them through that chapter. And when they're speaking with someone else who does not have an accent, I mean, I'm all over the map.
You did
So
all the voices.
I did.
And is it available on Audible?
All of them are available in Audible, and there's also an omnibus edition, which is every like all six books in one. It's 54 hours of story.
Wow. And so just on the Dissonance series, there's a website. It's
Dissonancetheseries.com, or you can go to getthesebooks.com. Yeah,
dissonanctheseries.com. Yeah, because
correct.
that's where I found it. I went there and I downloaded, but I'm gonna do the whole package because I want to know what happens in the end. And you don't have to tell us what happens in the end because the listeners will be like, "Oh, I already know what happens in the end. I'll have to read it."
Spoiler. Yep.
Yeah, we don't want to do any spoiler. But is it a happy ending? Not really.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, I had to. It's really when you kill off 85% of mankind with Gorgons, and then at the end of the saga, everyone else dies, that'd be a super depressing read. So we do have a happy ending, but the unfortunate news is in the sequel, there's a second wave headed towards Earth,
Oh my
they're
God.
wondering where the first wave went because we killed them all. And so the second wave is coming and we have to deal with it again. But it really plays like a Jack Bauer CTU 24 episode, that book, and I love it that way.
So how do you come up with these ideas? I mean, obviously at the age of 7, you came up with the Electric Boy, or I think that was the name of the title. And you've written a couple of children's books. You've had two boys. I read that you have The Ring of Truth, a book for kids, and then
Correct.
your 5-year-old came to you and said, "Hey, what about me? Where's my book?"
Exactly.
So you had to write
Exactly.
Sword of Joy. What are those kids' books about? What topics do they cover?
Yeah. Well, you should have been there, a fly on the wall when my 5-year-old said that. It was like, how did I not see that coming? I don't understand how I didn't see that coming. So the first one is dealing with shame, and kids tend to internalize things. My 8-year-old has a problem with this. I'm a bad person, quote unquote, when you've done something wrong. My wife and I are very, very, very clear with him that it's not about who you are, it's about what you did. It's the behavior that we want to change, and he's learning. He's a
Yes.
learning little boy. So we try to really delineate that for him, but he still does the whole internalization thing. So that's what the Ring of Truth is about. It helps cleanse the air around him, gets rid of all the creatures that are telling him he's no good. The Sword of Joy is for my 5-year-old who has a tendency to perform and try to make everything better if there's any kind of tension. He's the entertainer, look at me, everything's okay. And sometimes kids can go through that personality phase where they feel like they have to make everything better around them.
Ah,
And grief is not allowed, vulnerability is not allowed. That's what the second book is about, just being honest with your feelings. It's okay to be sad.
wow. And are these books under 100 pages, under 50 pages? How long are they?
They
Okay.
cost an arm and a leg to get illustrated. So they're 24 pages, which is 12 illustrations, 12 storyline,
Sure.
uh, and then sundry, before and after notes from me about the author, blah, blah, blah. But they turned out great, and I've got a third one on the way.
Excellent. When my kids were little, my oldest is 33 and my youngest is 26. So they're a lot older now. There are four of them. When my kids were little, the two oldest, one of them is now an author. I used to sit down with them at nighttime, turn off the lights, try to get them ready for bed, and I'd make up stories. And
Yeah.
the stories that I stuck with it was kind of silly, but it was about Quasha, Franklin, and Squeegee, the three monsters who were siblings, and they went on adventures. And I just create adventures, like going to the
Yeah.
amusement park or something like that. And one of them was always getting in trouble, and one of them was always doing the right thing, and the other one was always just watching and telling everybody about it. So, but it's something that eventually I will reduce to writing and create a series of these. And, so I'll
Yeah.
turn to you for advice on how to do this because I've done nonfiction, but I don't know anything about writing a fiction type book or getting it illustrated for that matter. And, it's interesting. I think that what you are doing is a dream of anybody who's creative, to do that. Forecast sounds ominous, though. That one sounds like it's going to be another, Netflix or, Prime Video, Apple TV type thing. That could be amazing. That could
That'd
be,
be
you
amazing.
tried to market that at all to anybody.
I have, yeah. Well, so the one thing that's wonderful, and I love the origin story, by the way, about your storytelling at night. That is how the Ring of Truth came about. Was I was telling it to my 8-year-old. Dissonance has been adapted for the screen. It's being marketed by the screenwriter, who is a Hollywood fellow. I'm not sure exactly what that means,
Okay.
but he's in the Hollywood system and he's pitching. He's got pitches to Peacock, um, Skydance, and Legendary coming up. He's already pitched to HBO Max and Warner Brothers and some others, and no one has said no yet. They're all chewing on it. So that's wonderful. Forecast is a harder pitch because it deals with a sensitive subject that 24 years later is still a hotbed issue,
Yes.
9/11.
Yes.
Um, and it's really sad. I find it really sad. I'm running ads on Facebook and they are not politically targeted at all. It's simply, and I explain what the ad is about. This is a very personal work for me. I was deeply impacted by 9/11 and remember it well to this day. The book allows a scenario where a person who is living in September of 2001, it's not time travel, he lives there across the Hudson, he's able to completely prevent 9/11. The ads say that, they say what the book is about, but man, does it just beget all kinds of
Reactions.
comments that are just, yeah, they're like, man, this isn't what the ad is about. This isn't for you to come on here and say, "Oh, it was Bush's fault," and there's the Illuminati, and it's just, oh man.
Oh,
So it's
so
harder
people are
to get
taking
that
it the
mainstream.
wrong way, whereas it's just a science fiction book, changing
Yeah,
history. Did you ever read Stephen King's 1963?
I have not. That's about JFK, right? I've heard
Yes.
about that one. I haven't read it though.
Got to read it. But this is reminiscent of it, although, this guy walks through a portal and goes back in time and tries to prevent, the Kennedy assassination. And when he does, all kinds of hell breaks loose. It gets
Yeah,
worse.
chaos theory,
Yeah, total, the butterfly effect, right?
butterfly effect,
So
exactly.
yeah, so I am intrigued by your ability to write excellent fiction and then your ability to write nonfiction. Tell us a little bit about the nonfiction side of the house, what you've written, and
Sure.
and how you were able to adapt yourself to do both.
Yeah. Well, as a voiceover artist, I published 6 books, and they're all a mashup. Every single one of them is a mashup of like satirical Dave Barry-esque blogs. If you read Dave Barry from the
Love
Miami
Dave
Herald, I
Barry.
love
Yeah.
him. His end of the year review every year just slays me. Um, but the books are a mashup, all of them, of satirical, and you shift gears to something very serious or referencey guidance,
Yes.
business guidance. And so they are kind of reference books for how to run a proper voiceover business or an authoring business, and how to creatively market, and how to set goals and track them, how to work by a schedule, how to handle rejection. So there's a whole mishmash and hodgepodge. I love those words, Grandma. Of the content in those books. The superhero anomaly is the last big one that I published, and that actually is a recirculation of a lot of the things that I wrote as a voiceover artist, repackaged more generally. I wrote over 300 blogs as a voiceover artist
Okay.
and had a pretty large following. So I adapted those to a book while a voiceover artist, and then I took the best bits of those books and repackaged them as superhero anomaly and made them more of a, like a reference slash satirical guide, how to stay sane. The other
Yeah.
one that I did was how to publish and creatively market, which are big issues in the self-publishing field.
Believe me, I could use your advice. Do you do actual coaching in that area for people or no?
Just when people ask, I mean, I don't really, I haven't pursued the coaching route. We talked before this session that the voiceover community itself has its issues. And I actually withdrew in April of 2023. And I'm so happy I did. So I have not pursued coaching because it just there's some lingering, frustration that happened there.
Sure.
I haven't pursued coaching. I just really am a creative guy who just wants to write and market his stuff. But if people ask, I'm totally happy to say this is how I do it and how I've done it.
Excellent. So, as an author, what are you most proud of in terms of what you've written?
Oh man, I'm loving what I'm writing right now, which is it's a post-apocalyptic um it's kind of a tribulation end times revelation-esque
The end.
series called The End. Yeah,
Yes, I
it's
saw
coming
that.
along really well. I'm excited about that and excited about the possibilities, but I am inordinately proud of Dissonance and how it just burst out of me, how it matured so much over the sequence of books. And I'm most proud, I think, of Volume Zero, Revelation, because it has incredible heart. It has parenting, which then becomes parenting through trauma. It has thematic depth. It has great story that's just so emotional as you wind your way down and thread your way down through the years with these people who are suffering under alien invasion and occupation. The Dissonance saga has turned into something that I will never forget this whole journey, and so proud of how it turned out.
Do you ever think that you're going to do anything to supplement that, or will you be creating new ideas? I mean, the end obviously is that's kind of scary,
Yeah,
post-apocalyptic, which I'm seeing a lot. It's very funny, but in the last year and into this year, I'm seeing a lot of shifting in the dynamic of the what people are writing about and what people are talking about. Seems like people are getting more spiritual, more focused on the end. I'm a fan of Mark Tremonti, who's
yeah.
a guitarist. He's in Creed and Alter Bridge, and he's got his own band. And his last production, which was just released last week, is called "The End Will Show Us How," and it's all this post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic lyrics that are,
Yeah.
I think there's something going on in the world. Maybe it's the alignment of the planets. I have no idea. Do you see this trend of what's going on in today?
Well, it's a question I had to ask myself while writing Dissonance. Is Dissonance a referendum on the chaos of 24 or the chaos of the last 5 years, starting with the pandemic? Um, no, but also possibly yes. You can definitely, divine some parallels between them. I think we just live in crazy times, and as if
Fair
people are,
enough.
are thinking about the end times and thinking about, before Jesus returns, if you believe that, there's all kinds of mayhem that's going to ensue beforehand. There's all kinds of wars and rumors of wars. Hello, Israel and Gaza, Ukraine and Russia, North Korea and everybody else on the planet.
China,
Um, except for,
Russia. Yeah,
it's just
it's
crazy.
scary. There's a current new change in administration and what they say they're going to do, and it's scary. It's scary as a person who has empathy for other people, and I imagine you feel the same. Um,
Yeah.
you know, the Dissonance series obviously is something that it's science fiction, but who knows? It could happen. Who do you write for when you're writing?
Yeah, well, I'll write for anybody who wants to read it. Number one, I wrote a really good story that I'm proud of. I wrote a story that is not juvenile or base or disconnected or just random. This, with plot holes aplenty. I wrote a series of books that is a continuing saga of survival and the human struggle and how mankind is always the worst enemy of mankind. These aliens are just a nuisance. They're horrible and they're deadly, terribly deadly, but they end up being a nuisance when you really just look at us. So it kind of is a message. It's a la Rodney King. Can we all get along? And as sad as that is, to kind of bring up the bad memories there, but it is not necessarily targeted for teens and young adults, although it fits really well in that category. I have people of all ages buy them at craft fairs and vendor markets when I sell them because I get to tell the story over and over and over again and what the whole saga is about,
Yeah.
and it attracts all kinds of people who are interested in the human struggle behind it.
What has been the greatest uh, challenge for you in marketing these books to be consumed? And you're obviously much more established on the marketing side than most self-published authors, and you've written a book about how to do it. What do you see as the biggest challenge in marketing a self-published book? You don't have the powerhouse of a Simon and Schuster or somebody Penguin behind you to be able to promote that,
Yeah, or an agent,
or an agent.
because
Yeah,
an agent would help you with that as well. I think one of the greatest quotes, and I wish to God that I could remember who actually said this. It was another author in a video online, and she said, if you want to find the greatest method of marketing to people, uh, stop marketing. And she paused for effect, and she said, instead, be an enthusiast. The difference is monumental. So marketing, everybody, people love to buy, they hate to be sold. Nobody wants to be pushed into a buying your book scenario. But if you can just instead be enthusiastic, and I'm so enthusiastic about these stories because
yeah,
they're so powerful, and that resonates. Everybody jumps on board the enthusiasm bandwagon. Like, this guy's really excited, and I'm excited because he's excited, type of thing. So the enthusiasm really helps. But the challenges that you run into are, honestly, the hardest thing is the people that you would expect to support you don't. It's kind of like a
give me
prophet
an
has
example of that. Tell me.
family and friends,
Really?
family and friends, close family, like mom
Yeah.
will buy everything,
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing with my daughter, just buying, books and shipping them
Yeah,
to people and
a prophet has no honor in his own country. I mean, Jesus said that. And so you've got all these friends, and they just, they will barely like your posts. They won't share your posts. And it's just kind of funny as these complete strangers. We do the same thing when we buy a CD. If you've got a musician friend who puts out an album, you're going to go buy, The Cure, or that totally dated myself, or U2,
I like the
or
cure.
whoever you like. You're going to
Yeah,
buy that CD. Do people
right,
buy CDs anymore?
right,
Or stream their stuff
right.
before you stream your
Friend.
brother's or your neighbor's stuff.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah, I empathize with that. I think it's I've got this book that I've been trying to market. I'm very enthusiastic about it, and I go out and speak. I give speeches on it, but it's a nonfiction topic, and it's very esoteric and very technical in nature. Whereas you've got really, some meaty stories here, and tremendously poignant plot lines. End of humanity as we know it. That is pretty darn scary. Or stopping 9/11, or aliens descending from outer space and then eating the people that they paralyze. Okay, that sounds, I mean, that's just amazing.
Delightful.
Great imagination. Did you do this all the way through high school, college? I mean, did you go to college? Tell me about your background a little bit.
Yeah, so I bounced around. So I'm a creative guy who's done a lot of different things to create. The manifestations of my creative bent have been many. So there's music recording and CDs and albums, touring those, uh,
What kind of music?
Christian rock and Christian
Okay.
pop first, and then
Okay.
it became Christian rock. But there's, it's a hard audience and a hard genre to get into and actually get out there and perform at venues that are friendly to that.
Yes.
Um, and then streaming just completely ate up CD sales, and CD sales is how you pay your band.
Yes.
So that was hard. But I've done poetry, I've done drama and acting, I've done voiceovers, I've done studio production, authoring, of course, and
Yeah.
all those things are just different representations of creativity. I also had a multimedia production business for several years where I would do videography,
Hmm.
video production, video transfer, creating memorial videos for those who had passed on. And there's a huge amount of creativity that goes into that. But authoring, boy, and voiceovers, both of those were kind of paused after or on or after high school. And then neither of them really had a resurgence until, mid tens of the 2010s.
Yes.
Uh, and boy, voiceovers, it's been exceptionally lucrative. I mean, it's a really exceptionally lucrative career. I'm currently the voice of United Healthcare, by the way. I
Ah,
voice a lot of different companies
sure.
and Fortune 500 and Ma and Pa stores, a whole gamut in between.
Yes.
Microsoft, Wrangler, Uber, Amazon, Cadillac, I've done them. and
How
I
does
still do
somebody
them.
get into voiceover? How do they do that? How do they
It's
become a voiceover artist?
I got in accidentally. It's a really long story, but honestly, people ask me still to this day, like, "Hey, I want to get into voiceovers. How do I do it?" And I say, "I wouldn't. This is it's a very crumbling industry due to AI.
Wow.
Um, I have seen our income and the quality and quantity of jobs continue to plummet.
Oh, wow.
Um, or 23 is when I decided to pivot, and because of OpenAI and Chat GPT and the SAG after strike, and you constantly have the what do you call them, the bad elements, continuing to erode at the industry pay scale, low ballers and underbidders, lowballing clients and underbidding colleagues. Boy, they just eat away at the industry pay scale. Uh, so I've seen jobs disappear. I've seen clients migrate to AI and lose me as their voice.
Oh,
So
no.
it's a real shaky time for voiceovers, and that's what caused me to pivot back to
Gotcha.
authoring.
That makes a lot of sense. And AI is just going to have that disruptive effect on everything. We do estate planning here at this law firm, and it's going to change the way in which people, do their own wills and trusts in the future. They'll be
Yeah,
able to do it, not just pulling something off of LegalZoom, but they'll be able to do it using AI in a manner that is much more effective, legal, and proper. So, what do you and I bring to the table? We bring our experience and our background and our creativity. Because I
and
don't
our
think AI is
humanity.
going to. That's right, and our human and our empathy and all of those things are really important. Today, um, what are your biggest hopes then? We've talked about the changes in voiceover and what's going on. What are your biggest hopes as an author or a voiceover artist going forward?
I want everyone in the world to read number one, the Bible, number two, Lord of the Rings. That's my favorite book of all time.
It is
And
one of
can
the
you
greatest
tell?
books.
Right here. So I'm a total dork. So I've got the ring around my neck. It's not the one ring you can see. I'm still here, still here, still here. But I have my family's names inscribed on the inside of this ring. I just love the Lord of the Rings. It was the first creative work that really inspired me to become an author. And thirdly, my books. Anytime I hear back from someone, mail from a reader saying, "Here's what I liked or disliked about your book," is so rewarding. A review, good or bad, preferably good, about someone who liked the book or what they liked about it. So rewarding. But the biggest dream, and I dare say this is actually fairly consistent among all authors out there, getting your book adapted to screen and seeing it on the big screen, because the visualization and the audience reach of your story that you created, then reaching someone on a whole different media, is just fantastic. So I can't wait to see what happens with Dissonance.
How did you find the screenwriter, or how did you get them interested, and how did you market this? How do you do your
The
marketing today? I mean, that's a much
well,
broader question, but
yeah, for screenplays, that's hard. I use Story Rocket for forecast. I've got my book forecast up on a site called Story Rocket where there's a profile of it. But the screenwriter found me. And I guess I was prolific enough on social media and the story was attractive enough. But his name is Alan Roth with Act Two Media. He
okay.
is, I'm literally 3 degrees away from James Cameron by hiring
Whoa.
him. So James Cameron, yeah, who's James Cameron, right? Who's that? His ex-wife, Gail Ann Hurd, is a powerful producer in Hollywood. She did Terminator, Avatar,
Yes.
Titanic, Aliens.
Yes.
And she put on a contest for Hollywood Fellows. I'm still not sure exactly what that means, but if you are a Hollywood Fellow, you are you're in the Hollywood system or something.
Hmm.
So she put on a contest for Hollywood Fellows, a screenwriting contest, and he was one of the 5 winners of that contest.
Hmm.
And he wrote Jersey City Story, and he got an award for that. He was very collaborative with the package that he sold me, which I Googled what does it cost to get a screen adaptation of your book? Here's zero, and here's this price, and he was right in the middle, so that was good.
Okay. Okay.
He was vetted. He's on IMDb,
Yep.
and he was very collaborative. So he made 2 changes. I was like, I don't. Can you? Ooh, and he undid those. And then with his package, he's actually out there marketing it, because I don't know who to talk to with Hollywood producers.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pitch this well.
Yeah.
But he's out there actively pitching it. So I'm
how
grateful.
do you monetize that? I mean, does he pay you some kind of royalty on the royalty that he's going to get if he successfully markets it to a producer?
What we would do, the contractual stipulation would be, so he's written the screenplay for the pilot for Volume One Reality. So we've got that screenplay. But but that's, this much of the book, right
Okay.
here. The
Okay.
rest of the book would get picked up, and then, they would see, oh my, there's a huge series here that we could do on this. And the contractual stipulation would be, we also want to serve as writers. We want to be on that writing team because there's a credit there that's incredibly valuable, both
Oh, yeah.
reputationally and financially. And it's continuing work that would go, we would be allowed to be on set, meet the actors, be a factor in the whole production of it.
So he's like a
Um,
partner with you in that regard, sort
yeah,
of.
his initials are exactly the same. So I even adapted my logo to be AR squared. And showed him that. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Trademark it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
so if you were giving advice to young or old people who self-publish, what would be the advice that you would give them today to be successful self-publishers and then to successfully market their books in addition to being enthusiastic about it? Because it's great to be enthusiastic, but that only takes you so far.
Yeah. My advice is triune. So it's trifold. Number one, steer clear of AI. If you must use AI for idea generation or for, visualization of characters, maybe something like a tool to like conceptually, envision your book, fine. But I know people who are, and there are scammers out there that are, the industry's rife with them, who are they're feeding a few prompts into OpenAI and ChatGPT, having those software produce an
A
entire
book.
book for you,
Yep.
and then you're having AI actually, produce a cover for you. You're slapping that together, and then you throw it up online, and boom, you're a capitalist. But you didn't write that, and that actually erodes the creative value of the authoring industry. So steer clear of AI, please. Two,
Hmm.
be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. That's an Oscar Wilde quote. Be yourself. Don't try to be the next Stephen King or J.R.R. Tolkien or Isaac Asimov or Suzanne Collins. Be yourself. Be your own voice. You have a unique story to tell. If you need to nod, tip of the hat, and give various nods here and there, that's fine. But just be yourself. The third is, and I think is the most important, is have a mantra in what you're doing. I love this mantra from a movie I like to pretend does not exist, Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace. I love this. I love this quote from it. If you can see that, it says, "Your focus determines your reality." That is a quote from Qui-Gon Jinn to a young Anakin Skywalker. My focus was to have voiceovers pay our mortgage and to have this 880 square foot shop converted to a two-thirds playroom, one-third office and booth that's totally professional. Done. My focus became my reality. My focus was to become a great voiceover artist for top Fortune 500 brands. Done. It became my reality. My focus was to become, and is still to become, best-selling author with best-selling books that earn awards. Done. My focus is to have this adapted to screen and to continue to write bestsellers. That's in process. That's my focus. That'll be a reality.
Well, I can't wait to see Dissonance, the series, on some major network, whether it's Peacock or otherwise. I'll say a prayer for you. And we'll hopefully we'll get it up there. Um,
Thank you.
the
Can't wait.
Your audience can get in touch with you in a variety of ways, but one is through author, AUTHOR, Aaron, AARON, Ryan.com. That's, I spelled it out because I've heard another podcast where somebody said awful. I don't,
Correct. I have to enunciate because the quality isn't always well. So I said not awful Aaron Ryan, but as a lark, I actually purchased awfulaaronryan.com, and it forwards to author Aaron Ryan. So now you could go to both. But
okay.
yes,
All right. But
authoraaronryan.com.
authoraaronryan.com, two A's and Aaron. And
Yep.
then www, I don't know if you even need that anymore. dissonancetheseries.com, correct?
Correct. Or getthesebooks.com, which goes there.
I mean, that's an incredible URL. I mean, you could sell that for $100,000. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I also got alienssaga.com, and that goes there as well.
excellent. So I think people ought to be reading your books, but we should be looking forward to the screenplay being and put into reality on film,
Yeah.
because I love that kind of genre, and everybody does. Everybody loves to watch it. So we can't wait to hear the success story of Aaron Ryan, the screenplay co-author, and internationally known creator of science fiction, and who knows? It won't be the end, but the book might.
Correct. I see what you did there.
Aaron, thank you so much for being a guest on Blueprint for Wealth today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.